Hi guys, so let's get started with Intro to Portraiture. So in class I'm going to give you all a ruler, but instead of thinking in terms of like centimeters or inches, you kind of want to think in terms of units as we draw the face, and that'll make a little bit more sense as that goes along. So let's go down from the top about 12 units. Okay, this is going to be the shape of the face, and very lightly with your pencil at this point, we're going to make a very, very, very loose egg shape. This doesn't need to be perfect because this is going to be adapting as we move along. Now, exactly midway down the face is where we're going to put the eyes. So find your midway point, that'll be about 6 units down. And what we need to do now is mark out the eyes. Now the face is about 5 eyes width wide. So let's do about about 1.5 units for each eye. So you can just mark that out on your ruler. Now the first eye needs to go straight in between the line. So let's do 1, 2, 3, 2, 3. See, so this is 5 units wide, but the first unit is straight there in between the eyes. And we're going to start by also mapping out just where the basic parts of the face are. This is a little bit tricky, okay? So we've just done the eye line. This is one halfway down the head. But the other measurements come down in thirds and also a little bit from the hairline. So this is from the very top of the head to the chin. This next set of measurements is going to be from the hairline down. And it's not precise where the hairline is because depending on which way you're looking at the face or who you're looking at, the hairline is going to be different. So we're just going to go a little bit down. I know that's kind of a general term. And then we want to divide the rest of this into thirds. Okay, so I'm not really going to use math for this because you're not going to have perfect mathematical forms. Instead of that, let's just think in terms of equal spaces. So if you kind of mark off a section with your ruler or with your hand, so you can kind of sight it, we need to divide this line into 3. Okay, so we've got one line about here and one line about here. And that's going to be 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. Okay? So now we have the basic form of the face. We can start to map out more features. Okay, from in this section here, in the bottom third, in between these 2 points, we're going to draw a circle. This is in the lower third of that section. Again, all these marks are super light. I'm going to give you H pencils during class to do these, but I'm using a darker pencil so you can see it. And we're also going to do some circles here and here for the eyeballs. Okay, and let's move into the eyes. So the eyes are usually kind of slanted upwards just a little bit. So you might want to draw a little line kind of going to the side, not too much. It's very gradual. And the eyes are kind of lemon shaped. So you want to start with the tear duct, then think about wrapping the upper eyelid around this circle. So imagine you're wrapping this around the circle, and the lower eyelid is going to be a little bit shorter than the upper part. So it's only going to be under the line by about 1/3 of the top. Okay, and now let's move on to the next one. So you can align the upper eyelids by drawing a straight line. So let's go here, wrapping around the upper eyelid, and then moving on to the lower lid. Okay, and now we can start to place in the irises. So you're not going to see the entire iris, you're going to see kind of like the lower part of it. So we can do kind of a half moon shape here, half moon shape here. Even that out. And then for the eye pupil, just another little moon shape. I'm just doing kind of like a little C so that I have a little light reflecting off. And now we can move on to the upper eyelid, which I'm also wrapping around this ball that we've put there. Okay, now this is a super useful measurement. The inner corner of the eye is aligned with the sides of the nose. And this is useful because it stays pretty true no matter what direction you're looking at someone. The thirds and all of this is going to change depending on if someone's tilting forward or back or side, but this is a really good landmark as you go along. And so we've got the sides of the nose. We're going to start just by shaping this ball into some nostrils. So we're just going to go up, side by side, and over to make the nostrils. I'm going maybe a third up on the ball before getting to where the nostrils are. And then I'm letting these kind of duck back in. Drawing a little bit of a half moon. That then kind of tapers off to the sides like this. With the nose, most of what we're seeing is a reflection, but the nose is really important because that reflection tells us a lot about the shape of the face. Then this is going to taper in as we move towards the center of the face, before tapering out as we move towards where the eyebrows are going to be. So the eyebrows are going to be along this line. Basically, the eyebrow is going to start around the tear duct. It's going to taper ever so slightly up, about a third of the way across the eye, before tapering downwards just beyond the eye. I'll just do 2/3 there. I'll mark out 1/3 here for the nostrils. Again, make these marks super light so that when we move to shading, you can erase them. Now from the bottom of the nose to the chin, we're going to divide this area into thirds as well. So we've got 1/3 here, 1/3, 1/3. 1/3, 1/3. Okay, now you're going to want to place the lips here. You're going to think the lips ought to be here. That's not where they are. We're going down to the line of the first third, the bottom of this third. So no lower than that. And this is another super useful measurement. The sides of the lips are going to align with the pupils if someone's looking straight at you. This also stays pretty constant no matter which way you're looking at someone. So it's a really useful measurement. And this line represents the center of the lips. The Cupid's bow is going to be a little kind of narrow area up here. The upper lip tends to be narrower than the lower lip. And we're going to tilt downwards, and there's a little muscle that kind of like pulls the lips inwards from side to side. I'm just going to shape this. And then the lower lip, we can make this about halfway down. This is one of those features that's really variable from person to person. And often when you're drawing a face, you don't need to do the entire lower lip because just a bit of shading underneath it pretty much gives the impression, because light tends to reflect off the lower lip, whereas the upper lip will be in the shade, so you can go a lot of the way without even doing the sides. But just for the sake of finishing this, we'll put in some gentle sides. And now let's move to the ears, okay? So the ears are going to align roughly with the tops of the eyebrows and the bottom of the nose. And it's going to really vary depending on which way someone's looking, how much of the ears you actually see. So now we can start to shape the face a bit more, okay? Men and women have slightly different faces. Men have kind of wider jaws and like kind of a heavier brow than women. So there is some variation, but it's along a spectrum. The basic proportions are pretty similar. Narrow down around here for the jawline. We can have the neck hitting around here. That's also going to vary. And let's get some hair in. And now we can do a little bit of shading just to add some depth. So I'm going to shade the inner corners of the eyes. You usually shouldn't smudge with your finger, but I'm just going to do that for now. I'll get the eyebrows. For the hair, you want to look for the highlight, which is the lightest area. So I'm just going to shade in. Let's say there's a band of light here too. I'm just making up the bands of light. They're not really there. For the hair, all you have to do is start with the darkest areas first. I'll do some contouring here. The face is going to seem super wide at first, but you'll understand it as we go into the contouring. So contouring of the face and the fact that we're usually looking at people when they're fairly close to us means that we tend to think that the face is way too wide when we map it out at first. But you can see as we contour it in, narrows quite a bit. We can do a little bit of shading here. And I've marked out this little bit of shadow on the bottom of the nose, just so we remember where that is. It's the shadow on the bottom of the nose and the highlight that's really going to bring the nose into being, into kind of perspective. It's a difficult shape because you do need to use shading in order for it to really work. And the thing about the eyelashes, you don't want to overdo it with the lashes, but remember they are in perspective. So these lines aren't just going straight to the sides. The ones closest to you are going to be pretty flat, like pretty vertical, even completely horizontal, so that you don't even see the eyelashes in the middle, and then they're going to radiate off to the sides. So we've got this. We'll get some lashes, and we'll do some shading on the upper eyelid. And here's a trick to making really realistic eyes. The whites of the eyes are actually shaded. So imagine you're shading very lightly that little sphere of the eyes. Let's move in with the rest of the pupil, avoiding that highlight in the center. Let's shade this ear. There's going to be a reflection on the lower lip most of the time. And a little bit of under eyelid. Just doing a little bit more contouring around the face. It's the Philtrum, the Cupid's bow. We'll want to get that. Okay, and then we have it for our first portrait.